Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this third and last day from the Battery Innovation Days. We are back today with an interesting topic on presenting to you the future NI priorities for 23-24, which are currently under discussions. So my name is Philippe Jacques. I'm the Managing Director of EMIRI and Secretary General of the Batteries European Partnership Association. And I would like to first to welcome all of you again for this session, and just to introduce you what we are going to, how we are going to lead this session. So first, we just to remind you that here we are talking about the priorities which are going to be elaborated for 23-24 under the work program, the upcoming work program 23-24 under Horizon Europe, so which is really part of the partnership BAT4EU. As you remember, the partnership is a joint commitment and agreement between the Commission on the public side and PEPPA on the private side. PEPPA is gathering nearly 200 stakeholders from the whole battery value chain in Europe. And the purpose, really, one of the key activities of the partnership is really to agree on and to elaborate, to recommend to the Commission and to the member states what are really the priorities that we feel are the most important to really to achieve the objectives that we have agreed with the Commission in the elaboration of this partnership. I would like to introduce, and thanks again those who accepted to join this panel. So we are happy to welcome today Philippe Froissart, who is the head of unit of the Future Urban and Mobility System in the Clean Planet Directorate of DG RTD, who is co-chairing the partnership board with our chair of BEPA, which is Michael Lippert. Then after the general presentation that Philippe is going to share with us, we will go a little bit more into the details on what is currently on the table, what is currently under elaboration on the BEPA side, really to feed the Commission and the Member States with really our recommendations for the priorities we feel the most relevant for the upcoming work program. We will also invite you to provide us with your feedback. Part of really of the principles of the partnership, there is a fundamental rule of being open and really to involve all the stakeholders, whether they are members or not of BEPA. So really, we want to take the opportunity of this event today, really to collect as much as possible your input and your expectations, what you feel also on your side is relevant for achieving the ambition of supporting and really having a very competitive battery industry in Europe over the whole value chain, and with the objective of getting these sustainable and green batteries that we have been talking over for the last 2 days. So without further delay, I would like to now to leave the floor to Philippe, who will remind us a little bit what these partnerships are about. It's really a very interesting instrument which that we really we can benefit, and I think we are very lucky to that the battery field is one of the domains, one of the sectors which can benefit from this instrument. Philippe, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philippe, for these introductory words and for setting the scene. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to say a few words on this partnership, which is BAD4EU, which is one of the new partnerships that we have in Horizon Europe. So I will do that now. If I can have the next slide, please. Before I start describing the activities of the BAD4EU partnership, I think it's important to set the scene and explain a little bit what has been the approach that the Commission has followed for the development of these partnerships in Horizon Europe. I think we have put forward a new approach to reduce the number of partnerships. We have now 49 partnerships in Horizon Europe, which are of a different types. We have the institutional partnerships, which are the follow-up of the well-known joint undertakings. So with institutional partners from public and private sectors. We have the co-funded partnerships, which are partnerships with national program owners and program managers for the development of joint activities. And we have the co-program partnerships with the industrial and research organizations, stakeholders, which are the public-private partnerships that are more familiar to you. So the idea of streamlining these partnerships in Horizon Europe was actually to increase the mobilization of the resources to fulfill the objective of more ambitious partnerships and to have higher expected impacts. So that's why we have less partnerships, but we have greater objectives and greater ambitions. The idea also was to streamline the implementation of those partnerships and to have, for instance, a common framework for the co-funded partnerships and the co-program partnerships. It goes without saying that if you have higher ambitions and if you want higher expected impacts from these partnerships, you need to be able to measure these impacts and to assess the effectiveness of the implementation of those partnerships. And this is something that we will be doing in Horizon Europe by providing a common framework for the monitoring of those partnerships, to assess the mobilization of the resources, to assess the achievement of the impacts of the partnerships, to assess the progress towards the fulfillment of those objectives, to identify possible weaknesses during the implementation, and what is, I think, very important, is to support the exploitation and the valorization of the results that are the direct results of those partnerships. Next slide, please. But we can ask ourselves, why do we need partnerships for research innovation, and in particular for Horizon Europe? The idea and the added value of partnerships that we have in Horizon Europe resides in the fact that we provide actually greater stability and predictability to the stakeholders that are involved in these partnerships. Why? Because we actually rely on the development and implementation of a multi-annual strategic research innovation agenda, which is co-created together between the stakeholders involved in the partnerships and the Commission services. We have therefore very strong interaction regarding the development and the implementation of this work plan between the actors that are involved in the partnerships. And the partnerships also provides an opportunity for stronger and more ambitious bilateral commitments, which are very likely commitments on budget and investments that are directly related to the implementation of the activities that are the direct results of the implementation of the strategic research innovation agendas, which can take the form of projects that are supported by Horizon Europe, or through additional activities that are the result of the commitments of the stakeholders in the implementation of the strategic research innovation agenda. Next slide, please. Now moving to BAD4EU, the partnership on batteries. What I think is the striking feature of this partnership is that it's a partnership that goes through the whole battery value chain, from the raw materials to the recycling and the end of life. It was set up by the Commission a couple of years ago. It was formally launched in June this year. And the underlying association that supports the implementation of the partnership is the Battery European Partnership Association, BEPPA. Philippe has mentioned already that it has close to 200 members, so this is very good. These members come from mainly the industrial sector, from research organizations as well. But I think, and I would like to stress that this association is not a closed club. That means that if you are involved in the development and application of batteries, you might actually have an interest in joining this association and being part of the partnership. So there will be later on this morning more information that will be provided to you on BEPPA, on this association. So please join in, and I'm confident that after these Battery Innovation Days, there will be even more members joining the associations for the Battery for EU partnership. The main objective of this partnership is actually to establish by 2030 the best in the world innovation ecosystem to boost a competitive, sustainable, and circular European battery value chain. The areas that the partnership will focus on are actually more on advanced materials, on sales development, and on the end of life. But as I said, the whole value chain is addressed, either directly via activities in the partnership or through synergies and cooperation with other partnerships and other parts of the program in Horizon Europe. The overall budget for the partnership, for the BAT4EU partnership over the 7 years of the framework program is of the order of 1 billion coming from the framework program Horizon Europe directly, to which you have to add a matching investment from the stakeholders involved in the partnership, from the industry. So at the end of the day, you have about 2 billion euros that are dedicated to research innovation on batteries, battery development, battery application, which will be spent in the next 7 years. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the interest and the challenge as well of the BAT4EU is that it does not work in isolation. It does provide the solutions to a number of sectors that are the mobility sectors, for instance, the energy sectors, and it is therefore essential for the partnership to work in close cooperation with other partnerships that are dealing with these sectors, such as the one on mobility for transport research on to zero emission, clean aviation for aviation, waterborne for zero emission waterborne transport, for rail, Europe's rail, and clean hydrogen. So it's important to have a good interaction between the partnership for batteries and these partnerships that are going to implement the solutions that are developed by the Battery for EU partnership. For clean energy transition as well, it's important for storage application. But also we need to develop some more interaction and cooperation with other partnerships, more particularly those that are in cluster 4, where you have partnerships on key digital technologies that provide support, for instance, for the battery monitoring management systems, but also on materials with the Made in Europe and Process for Planet partnerships. It's also important to note that for market update and skills development, there is an interest in having closer cooperation with the EIT KICs, the Knowledge Innovation Centers, such as the EIT KICs in energy, raw materials, and manufacturing. Next slide, please. I think that's all I wanted to say from my side on the BAT4EU. I'm of course available for you for questions. And unfortunately, I will have to leave the meeting and the event around 10 o'clock. So I can take first set of questions. But then if there are questions, additional questions a little bit later on in the session, I will have to rely on my colleague Johan Blondel, who is joining also this session, for answering them. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Philippe. I think it was very clear and a very interesting reminder of really what is the purpose of all these different partnerships. I had one question regarding the synergies you are mentioning. So I think that, yes, indeed, we are always asking and claiming for better collaborations and synergies. How do you see this coming and practically, how do you see them putting into reality, coming into reality?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think synergy is one of the key words that we will use for the preparation of the work program 23-24. And I think this is the purpose of the session today, to discuss what's coming ahead of us in this work program. And it's very important indeed to have a better cooperation and collaboration between a number of actors that will be involved in the implementation of that work program, and in particular, the partnerships. When it comes to batteries and the BAT4EU partnerships, I think we are in a very good position because we have already done so in the previous work program. And just to illustrate that, in the work program 21-22, the first work program of Horizon Europe, we have already a joint call between BAT4EU, Battery4EU partnership, and the 2.0 partnership on the application on batteries for transport and zero emission mobility. So I think we have to learn from this experience. We have to develop this concept even further for the other partnerships from other modes of transport. And but we have to be quite pragmatic. And I don't think we should blindly say we need to have joint calls and joint activities and collaboration between partnerships just for the sake of it. We need to apply these synergies aspects and principles only when it makes sense and when it adds value. And we have to look as well at how we want to do it, because you don't necessarily need systematically to have a coordinated call or a joint call between two partnerships to have interaction between the projects that are implemented as part of these partnerships. You could very well develop ex post cooperation between projects that have been the result of topics that have been launched in the different partnerships by just encouraging the clustering of those projects, the exchange of information between these projects at a later stage during the lifetime of the projects. And that's something that we are very keen in doing because it does not add constraint to the implementation of the projects and to the consortia that will be involved in these projects, but it actually valorizes the work that is being done in these projects. So I think we will have to look every time we see the need for increased synergy between partnerships. For instance, we'll have to see whether or not it requires the need for an ex ante approach, namely to develop from the start in the work program a call or a topic that is the result of this cooperation between partnerships, or if it can be done at a later stage during the lifetime of the project that will be supported by the framework program. So as I said, we are taking these synergies very seriously. In effect, we are actually breaking down the silos that we have with these partnerships. And to illustrate, to mention that, for instance, we have set up for the different partnerships in Horizon Europe an inter-partnership assembly that has precisely the purpose of discussing between the partnerships the areas of common interest and to see to which extent we could develop some common activities between these partnerships. So it's work in progress. I think we are on good track. Everyone is fully aware of the need to develop these synergy activities between partnerships. And when it comes to batteries, I'm confident that we'll be able to do it very well because we have already the experience in Horizon Europe for doing and developing these kind of partnerships between actors in the partnerships, particularly in the mobility sector.
Thank you, and I can assure you that on our side, on BIPA side, we are also building this network and really connections with the different partnerships, especially the one in the application sectors, just to align our agenda so that really we are sure that we can deliver on really what they're expecting. Or on the other hand, to let them also understand that they need maybe to be less demanding for the time being and postpone a little bit some deadlines that they would like to see. So these discussions are ongoing. We are really willing to organize some joint workshops and discussions, technical discussions between the different with the different application sectors, so that really we will be able to deliver really what they expect and to address the relevant specifications in due time. We have also identified, and I think that you mentioned these on one of your slides, some key let's say enabling partnerships in digital or in manufacturing or processing and manufacturing of materials, where really we see a lot of potential in collaboration, and we hope we will be able to confirm and to come with indeed very concrete actions with these when really it will make sense. Okay, so I don't want to take more of your time, Philippe. I know that you have to jump in another meeting. So thanks again for your availability and your support here to really globally the Battery Innovation Days, because I think you were very supportive to this initiative, and more particularly to the partnership that I think is really a common work. We were talking about co-construction, but I want to thank you for the very efficient and positive work that was done by your team, especially to get where we are now. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Philippe. And I wish you a lot of success in this session and the remaining of the Battery Innovation Days. Great event. Thank
you very much. Thank you. So next slide, please. So what we would like to do now is really to dig into a little bit, as I was saying, what we have identified as really what are the most relevant priorities for the upcoming work program. So I would like to introduce you to for really presenting these priorities. Two members of BIPA governing bodies. On one side, Yanni Kiuro, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Finnish Mineral Group in Finland, of course, who is a member of the BIPA Executive Board and also of the BIPA Association Delegation. So the Association Delegation is really the body which is discussing these priorities with the European Commission in the Partnership Board. The second speaker will be Oscar Miguel Crespo. Oscar is the Deputy Director at CDTEC Energy Storage, a research center based in Spain. Oscar is very much involved in the European battery RNI ecosystem. He is involved, well, he will be speaking here today as one of the members of the Association Delegation of BIPA, but Oscar is also, has been highly involved in the working group on manufacturing in the ETIP Batteries Europe, and he's also strong contributor to initiatives like Battery 2030 Plus and also LibPlanet, just to name two initiatives which are more on the networking of activities and not so much on the technicalities and technical aspects. But of course, CDTEC is also heavily involved in different RNI projects, but I will not detail this here, the purpose. Okay, so I would like now to leave the floor to Yanni, who will introduce this presentation, and I will let Yanni and Oscar share the floor for going through the different priorities that we want to share with you. Just to remind you, maybe before giving them the floor, that what you will learn here is really work in progress. So it's not, we are not going to give you a preview of what will be in the work program 23-24. Just consider it as a very open discussion on what we are currently suggesting and recommending to the Commission. All this, the work dealing with the elaboration of this work program 23-24 is currently under construction, and so we do not consider that every topic that will be addressed here would be available and included in the final work program. As you know, this is an iterative process, but at the end of the day, for co-program partnership like BID4EU, the final word, the final decision on the content lies on the side of the member states and the Commission in the comitology process. So what we do is really to bring our recommendation to support this recommendation with the best, let's say, in the best way possible to be convincing. So to try to convince the member state and the Commission, but at the end of the day, we will not be the one deciding. So just take it as really what is our views, current views on what is ongoing for the time being. Yanni, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philip. In the next slide, you can see the contents of our presentation. So we'll first remind you what is actually the scope of PEPPA and of course BID4EU. Then we explain how the process works and how this is all coming together, and finally we present the draft work program and all the 19 topics within with Oscar, and finally have time to ask questions and give you feedback. But going to the scope of the BID4EU and PEPPA in the next slide. This covers the entire value chain, and mostly, at least at the moment, it starts with the raw materials. So as you have heard earlier, there is the need is heavily increasing, and there is not enough secondary raw materials to fill this increasing demand, and this is actually based on utilization of mineral deposits, and luckily some of those are also in Europe, and then it's based on extractive metallurgy, and that will be the case for the coming years also. These raw materials will be then transferred into advanced materials, meaning battery chemicals, battery materials, and those will be put together into the cathodes, anodes, and further to the cells. So cell design and manufacturing is also part of the scope. Then the next step includes packing the cells and building the modules, as well as putting them into applications and integrating with the actual equipment. And now, of course, these two areas are the areas that have a lot of interaction with other partnerships. So the kind of it's endless to figure out where you can actually use the batteries, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of applications that we're not even aware of yet. Finally, when they come to the end of life, there will be repurposing and recycling and so on, and especially the recycling part then closes the loop in a way that these processing methods are very similar to raw material processing, and that's also the reason that these are more or less handled together within our partnerships. And finally, the recycled material feed will of course start to replace the need for the primary raw materials. That's the scope in brief, and I will now hand over to Oscar. You can continue with.
Thank you, Yanni. Next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. So the present time, we are in the first stages of the development and of the next work program for the 2023-2024 years, containing the research calls to be published later on for enhancing and promoting research in our area of batteries. So the process of developing such working programs is quite long. It needs several consultations, iterations, and refining. And the beginning of this process in the framework of this partnership is that BEPPA, as the private side representing the sector of batteries in Europe, is developing a set of priorities identified that ultimately will become a recommendation draft working program 23-24. So this is what we are doing right now, and as we will explain in the next minutes. And this will be delivered to the European Commission, and then the European Commission will start its consultation consultation process, both inside itself and also in checking with the EU member states, so that ultimately we will reach the final edition of this document. But it's already been said, we need to stress that the final decision on the topics and the text to be published relies on the EC to the EU member states. So next, please. So the point, next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So the point where we are today now is that, around September, in September, we did a stock taking of what is going on in the work program 2021-2022, because we need to be, we don't need to repeat what is already, but could complement what is already considered for the present 2 years. And in October, November, a set of so-called areas of intervention have been already identified and defined for work program 2023-24. These areas of intervention consist of a list of tentative topics containing a tentative title and a short description of 1 or 2 sentences. So this has already been identified and developed by BEPPA. It has been checked initially with the EC. And for the time being, we are working with this list that we will share with you in the next minutes, so that the target is that end of or around January of 2022, a first draft containing a first drafting also of the topics to be delivered to the European Commission will be released for DC to start this consultation process that we identified and we have already mentioned. The target is that around the end of 2022, the final work program for 23-24 should be adopted and formally published. Next slide, please. So in order to develop this set of recommendations, what was taken into account by BEPPA? Okay, so we didn't stand for nothing, obviously. As said, we started by stock taking of what is already going on and already considered. This involves taking care of what is ongoing as remaining projects from H2020, the previous research program from the EC. Also, we need to take into account what is already comprised in the current work program 2021-22. But also, we needed to take care of several roadmaps and strategic documents already published by relevant stakeholders in the European batteries arena, particularly Batteries 2030 Plus roadmap. Batteries 2030 Plus you should already be familiar with, is a long-term initiative to develop and to invent the battery technologies of the future. And also the roadmap coming from the ETIP Batteries Europe, the European Technology and Innovation Platform. And also the BEPPA own strategic research and innovation agenda. So it was already several strategic documents to take into account. And finally, the direct suggestions from BEPPA members involved in the working teams, outlining and identifying these topics. So at the end, today we have up to 19 R&I areas of intervention identified that we will share with you in the next slides. So please, I hand over to Yanni.
Okay, thank you. So these are the 19 suggested topics are divided to the entire value chain as presented earlier, and they are of course in line with the program, and they also contain both research and innovation actions and EA actions, innovation actions. So it's also possible to bring these closer to the actual market. And of course there are a lot of synergies with other partnerships. One of the or two of the topics are cross-cutting and relate more on the sustainability part rather than the actual value chain, and I'll go those through in the end of this set. But next slide, starting with the raw material and recycling part. So there are 4 topics, and actually all of these are relevant to recycling, and at least two of the first ones are also possible for the primary raw materials. The first one is about the technologies, process concepts, and it tackles the kind of strategic action for sustainable processing of battery grade from raw materials and relates to decarbonization. So any process concept or reduction of chemical use, energy use, water use, maximizing the internal recycling and so on. So this is actually the part that brings the competitive edge to Europe, because it's developing the new technologies. That's where we are strong. The next one sticks with the same strategic action, and it's more related to the pre-processing technologies and sustainability and modularity. So it relates with the waste reduction. So by taking care of the pre-treatment, you can actually reduce the waste, generate potential byproducts from the processes, and by utilizing the raw materials efficiently, you can of course decrease the CO2 footprint and recycling rate and so on. Topics 3 and 4 relate more into recycling. Number 4 is more closer to mechanical part of the recycling, so dismantling, safety activation, and kind of the early part when you recycle materials, and this is of course at the moment still quite laborious and manually carried out part of the process, and there's a lot to optimize there and bringing automation and so on, and that's why there are also synergies with AI and data and robotics partnership, for instance. And the final 4th one is more related to the later part of the recycling, meaning we are dealing with low-grade materials with a lot of mixed elements in there. So there are a lot of optimization needed in place and new concepts to bring this into a more economical, feasible level and able to actually compete in costs as well as in performance, and of course not to forget all the environmental aspects related to this. Next slide, and I think I will hand over again to Oscar to work with the advanced materials.
Yeah, thank you, Joni. Regarding advanced materials package, we have these 6 proposals for such topics. So we will go through them quickly. The first 3 of them, as you can see, they are related to lithium technologies for mobility applications. So the first one, number 5 on the screen, is new approaches to develop safer materials for generation 3 lithium-ion batteries for mobility applications. Here the stress is in the safety of such materials of in 3 that will stay with us for some time from the time being. Number 6 is entitled Next Steps for Material Development for Higher Density Next Generation Batteries for Mobility Applications. Here the stress is in solid-state batteries. Maybe it's not explicitly in the title, but this is what is behind. So it's a very critical, a very important technology on the agenda. And number 7 relates with post-lithium-ion technologies and relevant manufacturing techniques for mobility applications, generation 5. So as you can see, we have in these 3 topics, quite good balance between shorter and longer term technologies, because we need to combine all of the short, medium, and long term in order to build a strong proposal in Europe. The next two topics, 8 and 9, are more related to stationary. In particular, number 8 is entitled Development of Materials for Low Cost, High Safety, and Sustainable Batteries for Stationary Storage. You can imagine that the kind of technologies involved here are possibly sodium related, redox flow batteries, and so on, and several approaches possible. And number 9 is computer-aided design and development of materials for redox flow batteries. So it's focusing specifically in redox flow and in using computing and digitalization tools to enhance and improve the development. The last topic in this package, number 10, is a bit different from the others because it doesn't hit the active materials as in the previous ones, but a more structural and engineering approach. So the title currently is Size Reduction of Cell and Packaging, Integrating Lightweight and Functional Composites and Safe by Design Thermal Management. So this is a proposal topic also developing jointly with the working group focusing in applications and in mobility. And as I said, it's a bit different, but fits very well with the advanced material approach. Next, please. The area 2.2 is related to cell design and manufacturing. Here we have these 3 topics identified. The first one is, let me say, more oriented to experimental activity. It's dealing with sustainable high throughput production processes for safe and sustainable lithium metal anodes for next generation batteries. So the focus is in lithium metal anodes, which is a weakness that is already identified, and I think during the previous sessions of these battery innovation days has already been put on the table that this is an area where Europe should develop some strengths, because today we are lacking this. The next 2 topics are more oriented to digitalization, smart functionalities, and in particular, number 12 is advanced digital twins for battery cell production lines, both for current lines, but aiming to accelerate the implementation of digital twins for new technologies, for new battery technologies to come. Last in this short list is number 13, implementation and integration of sensing at cell and system level to advance safe operations. This is a topic that is clearly building on previous topics on developing of sensing at cell level. So here the focus is in how to use, how to implement the information coming from all this sensing in order to develop battery systems with these advanced functionalities. Next slide, please. This is the list of topics for battery end uses and operations. As you have learned from the initial slides here, I mean, the focus in this partnership is not in the application itself. This should be done in other dedicated partnerships like Juicero and others. But we have some preparatory research activities which are well in the scope of battery for Europe. So we have 4 topics identified in this area. The first one, number 14, is interoperable and connected open access battery management system for next generation batteries for mobility and stationary use. So it's kind of giving additional functionalities and ways of doing at the BMS level, so that they are more open access, interoperable, and more transversal than today. Next topic, number 15, is dealing with accelerated multi-physical and virtual testing for battery aging and safety evaluation. So it's quite a straightforward formulation. Next one, number 16, is dealing with second life in this case. So it's about the BMS and battery system design for second life batteries for stationary energy storage. And the stress is developing these second life applications based in interoperable BMSs, battery management systems, that are more transparent and more accessible for players involved in the second life applications development, which is a big challenge for the time being today. Last topic in this short package is number 17, and it's calling for hybrid storage solutions for stationary applications, for grid balancing and grid congestion avoidance. So the stress is in possibly combining different battery technologies for some specific applications in the stationary area that can benefit from this combination of several power or energy-oriented performance. So, Gianni, again, next slide, please.
Okay, thank you. We're finally going to the sustainability area, the cross-cutting area within this program. Two topics. The first one is to increase the circularity via new business models, and this is, as some of you know, it's not very easy to repurpose or repair or recycling the batteries, and in order to be able to provide these recycled materials, there is a need to improve this and build the business models based on this and make this economically more attractive, and this topic addresses this need. And the final one is about traceability, and the TRL of this topic is quite high, and the reason is, of course, that even though we are environmentally friendly processes and with a high sustainability standards, those are quite difficult to utilize in the business models if you cannot provide the traceability of the materials throughout the value chain, and this type of a system do not exist. There are a lot of discussion about the digital passports and the blockchain solutions to produce these passports, but there is nothing functioning within the battery value chain, and even the EU regulation puts a pressure on this, and this topic takes it to up to TRL 7, which is close enough to put it together within this decade and enable the attractive business models. And of course, all these sustainability topics are joined with other partnerships and a lot of other synergies with the others. These were all the 19 ones. I thank you all, and thank you for your attention, and handing back to Philip.
Thank you very much for these very clear presentations. It's now time for questions. But before we enter into the questions, maybe you see popping up on your screen some questions. We really would like to invite you to provide us your feedback. So you see on the right side of your screen, you have these pools which are open. So please have a look and reply so that we can really elaborate a little bit on your feedback in a few minutes. So in the meantime, I would like first maybe to address a question that was coming in the chat to both of you, and maybe before going into the Q&A, if we go into the next slide, I think that I would like also to introduce on stage Edel Sheridan, who will also take part in this Q&A session. Edel is the technical coordinator in Batteries Europe, and so she has a very broad overview of all the topics dealing, or the areas dealing with batteries research and innovation. She's a researcher at SINTEF in Norway, and Edel is also, and that's why she's joining today, she is also an active member of the executive board and the association delegation delegation of BIPA. So Edel, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And so the first question I got, and I will address it to the three of you. You know, we always have this questions regarding what chemistries should be privileged. And the question we got is that someone read the question to know whether it can be considered that topics which are proposed on chemistry neutral, that the topics which are proposed are really chemistry neutral when it does not refer explicitly to one specific chemistry. Who wants to take this one? Edel?
I can make a comment. When we look and when we are essentially looking at the applications for batteries, what's really important is, can it meet the performance requirements? Generally, we see lithium ion being developed further and further because it has very, very high performance. But if other chemistries can be shown to meet the KPIs, and that's really where it's set, these KPI values are really an indication of where the technology needs to be. So I would say it's not a case that we're saying one chemistry or the other. It's a case of saying performance, performance, performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I can add something to this. Yeah. Being a bit more specific, I think most, I mean, from one side, I would say that I think we have a quite good coverage of several battery technologies and the topics that we are presented this morning. Sometimes it's true that they are quite more or less explicitly oriented to specific battery technologies, that's true. In other cases, they are more open, but at the time these topics were proposed, obviously some ideas were already in mind. So now we are in the process, just started to actually draft the contents of these topics. So it's about time. So what I mean is that also some technologies might have been in mind at the time of drafting these indications, preliminary indications. Now is the time where the working groups dealing with the actual contents of these drafts to be provided to the European Commission can fine-tune and include or make more or less explicit the technology orientations. But as Edel said, I mean, what we wish at the end is to have answers for the KPIs that we need for each different area of application.
Yeah, and I think that, as it was stressed already by Edel, that our concern is not to close or to really focus on very specific solution that we feel would be the best. We are not necessarily aware of all the possibilities, and so that's indeed one of the I think the driving force behind really the drafting of the calls is that really what we want to clearly explain what we want to achieve, but how this has to be achieved is something which is much more that relies much more on the side of the one who will apply to these calls. So okay, I would have another question for the three of you. In the overview slide, there was mentioned that on the safety cross-cutting issue, there are no dedicated area of intervention which is identified so far, but that there are three topics that really for which safety is the primary focus. Can you elaborate a little bit on which one and how safety will be addressed in this?
Yeah, maybe I can comment something on that. Yeah, it's true. Safety is sometimes, I mean, my answer is similar to the previous one. I mean, that safety is sometimes explicitly addressed in the title of the intervention areas. I mean, I don't have the complete list in front of me, but it's true. But anyway, in spite of not being explicitly written in the title, I think it's something that is underlying in every single topic on the table. And the same happens with other key concepts like circularity, sustainability. So they can be more or less explicitly written in the headlines, but they are always underlying. That's what I can say for that.
Okay, you mean that definitively safety is one of the requirements from every call that we should really work and really work on project that will only provide solution that will be safer than the one we have today. That's basically what we want to achieve. That's it.
Yeah, basically that's the point.
Yeah. Maybe also another question is about how digital tools and digital revolution can really contribute and to the development of performant and sustainable batteries. I think digital approach is also addressed in a few areas of interventions that are currently on the table. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit what we expect from this digitalization approach?
Well, perhaps I can start and just comment that, like, we see digitalization really through the entire value chain, and I think in BEPPA and the partnership, what we've had to look at is what needs to be done first with regards to digitalization and batteries. One area we see it having a huge impact, of course, is where we're developing the battery passport and following up the battery regulation. So we really need digital tools there to enable a very efficient and good way of doing this. So this is one of the areas that we have picked up on, and maybe Oscar and Yanni can fill in on some of the other areas.
Yeah, I can continue, but of course the digitalization is entering all the industrial processes. So in a way, it's in each of the topics, but especially if we think about the sustainability area and the kind of a battery passport topic, it's fully digital. It's about IT systems and how to transfer the information from the unit process to other. And if we merge this with the earlier question about safety, one of the areas is the recycling and dismantling processes. Those are quite manual at the moment, but we aim with this one topic to bring in robotics and automation to increase safety, but of course that also introduces quite a bit of digitalization into the application. Just a few examples.
Oscar, on your side, a comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, nothing essentially different to add. I mean, digitalization is seen as a enabling tool to make developments faster, more efficient, and also enabling other approaches like digital twins, application of intelligence, artificial intelligence. It's also very well mentioned in the roadmaps of Batteries 2030 Plus, of the ET Batteries Europe, in the SRIA of BEPPA. So, I mean, it should not take by surprise to anyone that digitalization is a high priority and is, I mean, it's at the core of several of the intervention areas that we have presented.
Also, perhaps just to pick up a thread there as well, now we're seeing the development of sensors for batteries, and we will need digitization as well, really, to take that data, to utilize it and to make sense of it, both from an accelerating the research point of view, but also from the user and the end user and the recycling point of view. So we really are seeing a kind of evolution here where digitization can really support and accelerate in the battery area in its development. As I said, what we've had to do really is to pick the things that can be done first and the lowest hanging fruit, the things that we have to go for first in this case.
Yeah, and I think that this digitalization and the sensors that we see now coming in batteries will also contribute to improving globally the level of safety of battery that we were discussing before. So everything is in everything, I would say, just to conclude on that. And I think that's that's also part of the tricky exercise that we need to do, which is when we are elaborating these priorities and really defining these areas of intervention, we need to make choices. That's really, I think, one of the added value of BEPPA which is really to advise the Commission on really where to start, and that's I think really the one of the main the main output that is expected from us. So what we wanted to share with you today is really how this process is ongoing, and to which results it's currently leading. So I hope that you have a better understanding of this. And of course, if you would like to contribute, if you feel there are topics which are missing, just please raise your hand. Well, here I think it's not possible on this tool to directly intervene, but just drop your comments or question in the chat, and of course we will try to take them into considerations when continuing this iterative process on the program 23-24. What I would like to do now maybe is to go a little bit more on the analyzing the results of the pools that were launched. To do that, I would like to introduce and to invite also Walter Eisenman to join the stage. Walter is the executive director of BIPPA, so basically he's the one who is really managing coordinating all the efforts which are done by the battery community in the BIPPA association. So Walter, I will let you maybe share with us what are the results of the quick pool that you launched now.
Yeah, thank you, Philippe, and really you really put the right word there, coordinating, because it's really the members of BEPPA who are doing the hard work, the research organizations and the industry members. We have some topics, over 40 people who are working on this in drafting teams to really flesh this out from the areas of intervention that we have until the draft working program. And it's really encouraging to see, because some drafting teams are led by big industry names, some's led by research organizations, universities, but we also have a drafting team led by a small startup who really wants to work on this and be part of this bigger battery community. So it's really encouraging to see, and it's a privilege to coordinate all that. If we look at the polls, it's really quite interesting that 25% of the people attending today has not yet participated in any Horizon Europe calls or Horizon 2020. So there's a lot of interest also as well of people who have not been part of this this kind of call, and I think that's really encouraging. And we would, of course, invite everybody to keep following us and join our matchmaking calls if you're interested to join in the future, and really become part of this community. And you can see that opportunities will come to join these kind of calls. As we look at the general feedback on the overall program, I think that people are generally agreeable with the topics that have been presented. 60% said they are partially covering the needs, R&I needs that are currently out there. So it might not be a perfect match yet, but we'll work on that. Around 20% of the people think it's a complete match. And there's actually been 0 replies that it's not an all match. So at least we're getting on the right track, but we have work to do. So I think that's also how we feel. And if we look at the different topics and what people find important, it's really the sustainability aspects, which is not really a surprise maybe, because it's popped up in every conversation we had in this Batteries Innovation Day so far. And really to design for circularity and make sure that we don't make mistakes of jumping on the next technology train without thinking about how we deal with the stages later on that people really value. So we really need to put a lot of effort in to get that call right. I really think that's clear. And overall, for the rest, it's a lot of a mixed bag, and really people value different things of the value chain, and that's also what we see, of course, in BEPPA, and why we have the members from all sides and all angles to really help us balance out this these topics. I see, for example, also a lot of attention on the non-lithium batteries for stationary storage, including the flow batteries, for example. Maybe Oscar, you can tell us a little bit more about that. What kind of TRL will we aim for that call, and will it be? Do we know already, or are we still thinking about? Is it something that still needs to be decided?
Sorry, can you repeat it? What was the
non-lithium batteries?
Yeah.
What will be covered by that one? Because it's quite popular.
Yeah, as I commented during my presentation, I think we have a quite reasonable balance between lower and higher TRLs, and in particular, the TRL being targeted for Generation 5 technologies, for example, is TRL 4, which is quite low compared to others that are aiming to TRLs 6 to 7, for example. Yeah. Because we need to have some space to develop, less mature concepts that might become solutions for the future.
Yeah. Thank you. For the rest, we see also a lot of feedback for the new recycling feeds and concepts. So that's also where people really feel it can be made a difference. And of course, also the further development still of lithium-ion, including the rate reduction and thermal management. And I think this is typically, maybe Idel, you can comment on it. This is typically a topic, rate reduction, lighter materials, that we can work on with the other partnerships down the line.
Yeah, this is, it's clearly a topic that really will kind of overlap into different areas, as in different applications. We are seeing more and more applications for batteries. Of course, naturally, the automotive industry will be the largest application, and that is really the focus, but we are seeing an evolution. When you start looking at different applications, they have different requirements, and the weight certainly is one of them. I think it's an area that there's been relatively little done on earlier. There has been a lot of materials development in recent years in various different partnerships, but these have not necessarily been brought together with the battery industry as such to think of, can we use some of these newer concepts, newer ideas to reduce the weight, the size of the battery systems while still maintaining the high level of safety required. So I think this is an area that's quite exciting. It will bring in people from different technology areas. And again, this is why we need, as different partnerships, and to interconnect with one another and to work together.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that's the biggest lessons from the poll. It's really no clear winners. A lot of people are focusing on different topics, which is also the challenge that we have at BEPPA to value all these different kind of technologies, different parts of the value chain, and we just have to juggle them on the way forward to come to a good set of proposals to send to the Commission and to bring this forward so they can do their work together with the member states to finalize the program.
In the meantime, I think we got another question in the chat which deals with testing of battery storage system for stationary and industrial applications. So the question was whether we are planning to propose calls related to that field of the test of battery storage system for stationary and industrial applications.
Yeah, from my side, I can comment a bit on this. From one side, we have a specific topic focusing in that. The title was Accelerated Multiphysical and Virtual Testing for Battery Aging and Safety Evaluation. So it deals with, modeling and digitalization of the testing part, but we should start this by a strong basis, a strong database from actual testing and actual systems in order to in the future, develop additional tools to lower the need of actually doing this kind of experiments, because they are time intensive, budget intensive in terms of investments and availability of equipment and so on. But also in other topics where testing is not written as a big headline, is obviously behind the scenes. For example, topics aiming to develop advanced BMS, battery management systems for first and second life applications. Testing is essential there. I mean, you need to take care of this. So again, there are several, I would say topics, but not to use the same word, several areas, and I will add again to safety, sustainability, and so on. And testing is one of them that more or less explicitly is always there, is always relevant, and in the particular case, it's particularly true. Yeah.
And maybe one general comment from my side on this. I think that what has been driving our work in the beginning here is really to not to disperse too much the budget on very specific topics or applications, but rather to try to develop technologies that will be interesting and really relevant for different fields of applications. So typically when we are talking here about developing modeling tools that will really allow to address safety issues or testing issues of batteries, I think we are positioning the call basically at a generic level, but with the option for those who will be actively working on these projects to develop a use case on one or the other specific domain of applications where really it makes sense and where the issue is really there is a need for developing solutions. So I think that's always what has been driving our work, and so we try not to focus too much the research on very limited areas of applications, but rather to develop the enabling tools that will really be replicable and let's say integrable into the different applications. So I think that that's something that I guess I hope you all agree with me that that's really one of the basic principles that we try to keep in mind in the drafting of every call. From now more on the process of the elaboration of this work program. I see there is another question about whether or not there will be an active selection when projects are awarded to have different use case. So will there be an active selection when projects are awarded to have different use case? Not sure I fully understand the question.
So maybe it's to state here a little bit that the BEPPA does not, we do not evaluate the projects, the proposals. They are evaluated by the European Commission to have a process where they have a panel of experts that evaluate, and the panel of experts have to be impartial and do not have any applications to that call, for example. So it is not determined essentially by the BEPPA. So I think from that point of view, it's determined on what the evaluators see as the best proposals that come in.
Yeah, and maybe insisting again and repeating again that all the calls that we are talking about that will come out in the upcoming work program, or the one which are that will be open soon for the work program 22. These calls are open to everybody, so you don't need to be a member of BEPPA to apply for these calls. It's really open calls to all, to any organization which is really entitled to benefit from the Horizon Europe funding. So we are mainly at BEPPA. We are supporting the European Commission in the elaboration of the work program, but there is no privilege for BIPA members to get the funding. Let's be very clear about that. It's really on the work program elaboration that we contribute, not on the allocation of the funding.
Maybe if I can add something else to this question. Yeah, I mean, the question deals with the selection of the projects, and Edel answered that we are not involved in the selection at all. But just commenting from the point of view of the topics, the active areas, or the intervention areas, sorry, identification, we took into account that, I mean, we tried to cover all main areas of application, meaning mobility and stationary. We try to find a balance between them. Maybe if you count head by head, maybe you find more topics explicitly addressing mobility. It's true that, I mean, mobility in general is one strong area, economic area in Europe, so it needs to be addressed kind of priority way. But also taking into account that the stationary area is not second to anyone else. I mean, we need to focus also in some specific technologies, topics, approaches dealing with the stationary. So at the end, we tried to balance one with the other. And in fact, some of the topics explicitly address that the technical solution should be useful for both. So, I mean, we try to find such balance at the proposal stage. So maybe.
Yeah. And maybe to remind again that so we are really working closely with the different partnerships who are directly responsible for an application sector. So with 2.0 for automotive, with zero energy waterborne transport for maritime transportation, with Clean Sky for aerospace and so on, with rail also, with the rail partnership, and that the basic principle that were agreed with them is that all the questions which are really specific to them, dealing with specifically with the integration of batteries into the respective application, is something that will be driven on their side. That the aspects which are really internal to the battery performance, I would say, especially at the cell level, definitively up to the cell level, that's something that will be driven by the battery partnership. And everything which is in between, we need to agree and to identify who takes the lead and whether there is some room for joint goals like Philippe Rossard mentioned earlier in the session this morning. So that's definitively where we want to avoid, let's say, to let some important topics to be just falling between the partnership. So that means that we will that will require a lot of coordination and discussion and exchange. But I think that this exchange will also generate a lot of positive results on really identifying what needs to be done and who should take the lead on these joint actions for the future. I don't know if we have any other questions. I don't think so. So maybe just to conclude and to summarize a little bit the on the process aspect. So you have seen what has been generated so far as a very in a very packed way. What are the areas of intervention that have been really suggested and proposed to the Commission for the work program 2024? This work looks maybe a little bit frustrating because it was not very detailed. But I think it's I hope you realize how many efforts were needed to get to this list of priorities, because as I was mentioning earlier, priorities, it's really, if you want to make priority, that means that you have to make choices, making choices on the topics. Then we will have also to make choices on the proposed allocation of the budget on these respective topics. At the end of the day, again, it will not be our decision, but we can recommend the amount of money that we would feel necessary to such or such topic, knowing that the budget is not infinite. We need to deal with, I think, a significant and nice budget. Of course, we would like to have much more than what we got, but basically here, just to give you an idea what we are. So the global budget for the full duration of the Horizon Europe was mentioned by Philippe Froissart. The budget which has been allocated is of 925 million euro for the full duration. For the work program 23-24, we are working on a provisional budget of 260 million euro, which is significant, and hopefully that will really move the needle and improve really the level of understanding and the quality of the battery that will be invented and developed in Europe. So that's basically what we want to achieve, is to be able to move this needle and to contribute to and support the European industry. I think it's also important to keep in mind that BIPA is not doing that alone. We are. There was a nice slide in the presentation from I think it was you, Oscar, who commented this one, just illustrating what is the input we are relying on really to try to shape these priorities. So the work of Batteries Europe is absolutely essential. The input from Battery 2030 Plus is also absolutely huge and important. Not to focus too much on the short-term applied research activities, but also to have a deeper look and a look further away for really what are the technologies that will allow us to improve globally and to accelerate the development of the batteries in the coming decade. I'm sure I'm missing and I'm forgetting some key stakeholders. Of course, we have also our own deeper strategic research innovation agenda. Again, I invite you to have a look at it if you want to better understand how we are structuring and organizing our priorities along the whole value chain, so that you can really have a better understanding of what we feel are really the priorities. And if you would like to contribute, you are more than welcome. Walter mentioned that Walter mentioned that there is a lot of work which is done regarding coordination, but we would be more than happy to have more people joining and contributing. We are totally convinced that it's really by bringing all the relevant stakeholders that we will achieve the best prioritization exercise, and that we will be able really to achieve the objectives of the partnership. So we have this strategic research innovation agenda of the partnership, which is available on the official website of BIPA and the partnership. So don't hesitate, have a look, and please consider joining if you are not yet, if your organization is not yet member. You are really welcome to join and to contribute. If you don't want to become let's say an official member, you will have and we will continue having these open sessions and open workshops really to collect as much as possible feedback from you all. But of course, if you really would like to be, let's say, more directly involved in the work of the working groups, in that case, you need to join the association and to support the membership fee that is required for doing so. I don't know, Walter, if there is any additional topic or comment or questions from that you would like to share from the pool or from the Q&A.
Not for the moment, just for the, even if we just now asked input on the areas of intervention, just to rank them, but if you say, well, I didn't rank one because I think it should be in a different direction, if you feel that's exactly when you need to reach out to us. I've put our email in the chat, and we also have a booth here at the Battery Innovation Days, so where you can find me and Philippe and my colleague Capucine. And just for the rest, I hope you have a look at the current work program. There's still some calls open for 2022. And also have a look at the next session, definitely with the other partnerships, because we have members from the Rail Partnership and the Waterborne Partnership joining us at 11. So we're really looking forward also to get their inputs and their requirements. So I want to thank everybody who participated in the poll, and look forward to hear from you to really dig down deep what your priorities are for the research future.
And yes, so please join the following sessions. I'm also very curious to join the final session and to listen to the concluding remarks from Jean-Eric Paquet. So please join also. And I would like maybe one last information from my side. I don't know if you noticed that the results of the first round of calls that were published mid-21. So the calls have been closed in mid-October sometime, and we now have the figures about how many applications were received on the 7 topics that were open in 21. So we got well, not we, but let's say the topics that were proposed by BIPA to be covered under the BAT4EU partnership. There were 61 project proposals that have been submitted on these 7 different topics. The bad news is that not all will be funded because the budget is limited, and I don't remember how many projects will be awarded. Probably something around 2025, but that means that we have an oversubscription, which is probably 2 or 3 times the budget allocated. And for me, it's also an indication that the topics we are proposing are the right ones. That there is really a high interest in contributing and in getting this funding really to contribute to these topics. So that's I think that's very encouraging for us. I don't know, maybe Johan, I know you are with us and listening to us. Would you like to comment maybe on this one? And I know I'm taking you by surprise on this, but I'm sure you can maybe comment on what's your feeling about these figures on the 21 calls.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, it's fine. Huh?
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much for the organization of the entire session, which has been very instructive, very good to get an insight. I'm happy to see the results of the first call. It shows that there is a genuine interest and a very strong momentum. And I think it's very important that we keep that momentum going, and that we build up even more interest for the coming calls. So all we can do to tailor the topics towards the interests of what is currently happening is going to be of crucial importance.
Thank you very much for these very kind words. And I would like, with that, I would like to thank you all for your contribution in this session. I would like also to take really this opportunity here to thank all those who contributed in the working groups of BIPA to the elaboration of these areas of intervention, and who will continue working in the elaboration of the draft for the topic goals. So thanks again. Please stay on the Battery Innovation Days for the next sessions, and hopefully see you soon in a physical environment not too far away from now. Thanks again, all of you. Bye bye.
Thank you.